Hello, today is July 16th, 2024. Today I'm going to be doing my Senate predictions. Last time I did my presidential election predictions, I think I did that. I think I posted it on the 7th, but I did it on the 6th. And, considering I switched to a new channel, it got like 40 views. I thought that was pretty decent. Whatever. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to fill in some of the safe states, and I'm going to mention some of the margins if some people don't know that already. So I'm going to use North Dakota as an example. What's here is safe Democrat. That color, it's obviously not going to go Democrat, but that would mean 15% or more to the Democrat. So if a Democrat wins 60% to 40% exactly, they would win by 20%, which would mean it's a safe state. Even if it was, say it was 40 to 55, there was like 5% independent, it'd still be safe because it's 15% or more. Now, if it was anything in between 7 to 14% of a margin, that they would win by in percentage points, then they would be likely, which is what this color is here. That's the second tier. That's likely Democrat. Lean Democrat, I would call between 2 and 6.9%, which means, well, yeah, I just said what it means. It's lean. And anything under 2% of a margin of a win is tilt. And it's the same with Republicans. That's 15% safe, 7 to 14% likely, 2 to 6% lean, and under 2% tilt. And for the Senate races, is a lot of easier calls. Uh, and to address my last video, I want to make clear that I don't think getting shot did anything for the election. I don't know. Some people thought that it would. I don't see how it helps or hurts anyone. I think it's just something that's going to be forgotten, not forgotten about, obviously, is history. But I don't think it's going to be taking a toll on the election in any way. And if I'm wrong, that's pretty interesting. If your candidate gets shot and you're like, oh, I want to go vote for the other guy, that's a very, very weird reason. Uh, Either way, I just wanted to acknowledge that I knew about that, I guess, because I haven't made a video in like 2 weeks about that. Okay, so I'm gonna do the safe Democrat states first, like I started with last time, and I'm gonna say New York, Vermont, Massachusetts, Rhode Island. There's a lot of more safe seats in the governor and Senate seats, and even obviously the House races as well. I'm trying to think if I'm missing anything because I know in the Senate there's some weird places like Joe Manchin's technically still an incumbent in West Virginia. We also have an incumbent in Montana. Democrats do, so it's a little different in the Senate. Maine, technically independent. They caucus for the Democrats. That's Angus King, I think. Delaware. Delaware's pretty interesting because it looks like the incumbent is losing his primary race, and I could be wrong about that, but that's what it looks like is going to happen here. And I don't know. I'm 95% sure the incumbent is losing his primary. Uh, I'm not going to say Maryland. I was, as a Democrat, I was kind of scared about Maryland going red for a little bit, and then Hogan rejected Trump's endorsement, and then he's all of a sudden down by 15, 20%. And then it's no longer a worry. I think just the fact that he rejected the endorsement alone, like, even if he did take it, people would have tried to vote for him anyway. He can't. Hey, the best he could have done is no comment, I guess. California should be safe Democrat seat here. Hawaii, and there's a couple other. Oh, Virginia. I was skeptical about Virginia, but new polls have come out, and yeah, I know I don't completely base everything off of polls, but Tim Kaine's up 21%, 18%. Uh, yeah, it's very, very hard to overcome for any Republican here, especially considering Biden is supposedly only up 1 or 2 points in Virginia right now, despite the fact he won it by 10. So if Virginia's having an 8 point shift towards Republicans, and they have a red governor, and they're still going to vote for the senator by 20%. I think is it Kaine or Warner? I think it's Kaine. Uh, it might not be Kaine actually. I think it's the other guy because Kaine should have had his reelection in 2022. Okay, next I'm gonna do. I'm trying to think if I have any other safe Democrat states by margin. And I'm not going to say that I do. So we're going to do Republicans now, and that easily includes North Dakota, Wyoming. Nebraska is very interesting, and because there's a special election, which is definitely safe red, so I'll put that as red. However, we have little to no data in Nebraska uh, of the senator that left and not left, the senator that's up for re-election here. I think it's Deb Fisher or something like that. Again, sorry if I'm wrong. I have no idea the exact person it is, but I know the situation of the race. I'm not like just guessing or anything. I don't want to pull up 538. I'm pretty confident. Basically, what I'm saying is the there doesn't seem to be a Democrat running in that race. It looks to be an independent. It could be a situation like Utah was in 2022, where it was actually pretty close, single digits. Uh, Again, I should be able to name him. I'm so sorry, I can't. I've been so good with names, but I've been off politics for like 6 months. But I've still been paying attention to what's going on. I do think Nebraska ends up being like a 12-point victory over the independent. Normally I'd say just safe Democrat. No, Republican. But considering that the only data we have is a 3-point margin, and that senator is not too loved, I don't see. I also don't see a lot of turnout in big red states like this. I see a lot of turnout in the closer states. Like, okay, whatever. I'm done talking about Nebraska. That was a lot of time on Nebraska. I'm trying to keep it short from last time. It was a 40-minute video. I didn't realize until after I closed it. Next is West Virginia. That is the first flip, which is a killer for Democrats. It's only because Joe Manchin, I don't know if he's retiring or anything, but he's definitely not running anymore. I don't know why he switched to independent and then decided he's not. He decided that he was not going to run. Yeah, I know. I asked $5 to be on. Uh, but yeah, West Virginia has a safe flip. It's going to be like a 30 or 40 point victory. Maybe considering it's Joe Manchin's Senate seat in general, it could be like under 30 point victory, but it's definitely a safe Republican flip. And that is the most important gimme of the evening for Republicans because they will flip the seat almost instantly, which will mean that there's no way any side has. Well, there's no way Democrats can have a decisive win in the Senate, even though they don't really anymore because Sinema and Manchin are not running anymore, and they're still also independents. Right now, it's actually closer to it's 47 49 and 4 is actually the Senate count. So no party actually has 50 seats. I mean, yeah, you're going to have the two that caucus with Democrats, and that makes it 49-49 too. Again, which is still very complicated because you can't have Kyrsten Sinema come in and break a tie if it's 49-49, and then the two people go for one side because Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin could effectively be their own tiebreaker. But they're on their way out of the Senate, and that will no longer be like a big issue to deal with. Uh, and we're gonna have Indiana. I'm gonna put as likely because again, Indiana Senate races are usually closer, despite how Republican it's been turning over the last like 10, 20 years. Uh, Again, I expect it to be like a 13-point victory. Again, I think it's the governor that's running here. I believe, unless he lost his primary race. Again, I know it sounds like I'm just bullshitting because I don't know the exact names of these people, and I feel like I should have just brushed up on that. I should just have a piece of paper out. I know who the candidates are. I just can't name their exact names. Okay, in Tennessee, safe. Again, for these Republican seats, it's pretty interesting too, because you're gonna see like Josh Hawley only win by like 10 points, despite the fact that if he was running for president in Missouri, he'd win by like 25. It's different because it's a Senate seat and they vote slightly differently. That's why, if Hogan was running for president uh, in Maryland, he would probably lose by like 35 points. However, since he's running for Senate, and since he ran for governor, he won. And since he ran for Senate, he's only down by like 15, 20 instead of like 35, maybe 40. So Josh Hawley, again, is only data. It's consistent data. That's why I don't just see like one poll and I'm instantly decided on it. Uh, there's enough data and approval ratings and trends. Obviously, I think Josh Hawley's going to have a better victory in here the polls say. They have him winning by like 8%. I think he wins by like up to 17. Probably around 11. I say he win by 11. Mississippi, I think, hasn't had a safe Democrat race. Like this race almost went blue in 2018. I don't know how. Maybe it was just. I mean, so did Tennessee. Tennessee was under 15 points. I think it was like 11 points as well. That's probably not exact, but point being made is Republican seats and Democrat seats are more competitive in the Senate, sometimes more often than not. So Mississippi again could be like a 9 point victory here. Mississippi actually almost voted for a blue Democrat. I think they only lost like for governor last year. I think they only lost by what 6, probably up to 8. I remember the day after when they called it, it was less than 6%. Ended up probably being around 6 or 7%. That's close for Mississippi, and it's because it's a governor race, not because it's turning blue or anything, but it's because it's a governor race, and people have different opinions on who they want running their state versus their country. That's why Kansas has a Democrat governor. That's why Louisiana had a Democrat governor for so long. That's why Kentucky is a Democrat governor. That's why Maryland had a Republican governor. That's why Massachusetts also had a Republican governor. That it's a really weird system with the governors. It gets slightly weird when it gets slightly less weird when you get to the senators, and then it gets normal when you get to the presidential side. So next thing I'd say for Republicans is likely Florida. I refuse to elaborate. I don't need to. Democrats spending money here is an entire waste. They have one seat that they should be spending their money on, in my opinion. I think two seats actually. It's Montana and Ohio because I think they're going to win all these Rust Belt seats. I think they're going to win Wisconsin. They're up by like 8-9% here. They're up like 6-7% in Michigan. They're up like 7-8% in Pennsylvania. These are beloved Democrat senators that have been there since like the Obama era. So they don't have any issues in the Senate in the Rust Belt, except for Ohio. Sherrod Brown is up like 4 or 5%. I saw Marino up 1 on one of the polls. The next poll, Sherrod Brown was up 5. 5 isn't enough to be confident at this point. Granted, things are probably about as bad as they can be. And JD Vance is now the. Oh yeah, okay. I also wanted to call that. I called the president, the vice president for Trump. I got that right like 2 weeks ago. Because I remember saying he was going to pick the worst possible option to help him, and that's exactly what he did. So I just thought that was funny. But yeah, now Ohio is going to have one senator here, and it's going to be a Democrat senator. It's going to be really weird. I think it's going to be a Democrat senator. I do think Sherrod Brown wins this race, but it's going to be very close, and I'll get to the margin after I get through some of these other states. Um, I think the fact that Ted Cruz isn't up by like 10% right now shows that he's probably only going to win by like 5%. He won by what, like less than 2% in 2018. Beto O'Rourke almost won. And then he ran for governor, and then he lost by 10. This isn't O'Rourke. This is a different candidate that seems to be a very solid candidate that I think Ted Cruz will still beat. But again, just show that he's like the weakest Republican in the entirety of Texas. Because you have Corbin, and then you have the governor, Greg Abbott, and Trump, who had better wins here than Cruz did. Cruz actually had a risk of losing his job in 2018. I don't know if it was because it was the blue wave year and he was against Trump a lot and Beto O'Rourke had more Latino vote. That's probably what that was. I expect something. I still expect a closer margin here, considering I think Cruz is up by like 4% right now. I think he's going to win by 6 to 8%, something around that. Again, 5 to 8% of that margin, but he's definitely going to win here. If Democrats flip Texas, they don't have to worry about Montana or Ohio. And honestly, if they're going to flip any seat here, I think the most likely seat would be Texas. So if they're not, they should not be spending money in Florida. Every money they put in Florida, which I can only assume has been tens of millions by now, they should be putting into Texas because that is a state that will almost certainly flip by the end of 20 by the end of the 2030s. Probably 2032, 2036. They'll flip presidentially, and I expect they'll have a Democrat governor after Abbott. Uh, I really do believe that there's a lot of like denial Republicans or whatever you want to call them. It's the same thing with like Alaska. Alaska used to be 40 points red, and now it's single digits red. And they have a uh, what's the name? Is it Sullivan? What's the name of the Democrat who won here at large? Again, that's a little different because it was a ranked choice voting system, and Palin was an awful candidate. But it still showed, and it's still, and it sucks because I don't know what his name is, but it was this. Was it just LTE? Let's Talk Elections guy. I don't know if he still makes videos, but I remember in 2020 when I was making videos, he was, and he made a video talking about how certain he was that Alaska was going to go blue. And that was annoying because less than 2 weeks before that, I made a video explaining why Alaska was turning blue. And I wish I wish I got some of this credit. I called the vice president. I called every state in 2020 correctly. I called the Alaska flip. I called everything. Uh, but that guy gets credit. It's very upsetting. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and put Texas in at lean, like I explained. And now I'm going to put in Utah as safe. Probably. I think presidentially, it could be like a 13, 14 point win for Trump, maybe 20. It could turn a little bit more red despite its generic shift towards Democrats. And if you want an explanation of why the state's shifting towards Democrats as well, again, I'm not going to only say states are shifting towards Democrats. That's not true. The entire Rust Belt is shifting red. Democrats are holding it off for this year, but in general, these are red states. Ohio and Iowa and Florida are already red states. I'm not single-handedly picking out blue states that are shifting, or red states that are shifting blue, I meant. Okay, and then here we have next. Democrats need to win every single one of these states left to at least tie the race and hope they have control when no, if Biden wins. I don't think he will as of right now. But they have some good news on that part. Maryland is safe, if not very close to safe. Hogan just has a slight advantage from serving us before. It's a home state, so I know a lot more about that election. New Jersey should also be likely by the time the election hits, maybe lean. I know there was that one weird poll where New Jersey was going red. Everything else past that has been blue. Ignore that one poll. Now, Wisconsin, I'm going to say Tammy Baldwin. You know, Wisconsin's had a lot of blue turnout in local elections, not like national elections, but they have a liberal Supreme Court now. I believe the state Senate and state House are blue now. At least one of them is. That was flipped recently. Uh, uh, Ron Johnson's the only. Oh, yeah. Also, their governor, I think it was Evers, Tony Evers or something. Their governor was the only state I got wrong in 2020. Actually, I think Nevada for governor. I got sorry, I got two governor seats wrong in 2022, and I got one Senate seat wrong. And then I still had Democrats winning the Senate though. And then I also had no, that was it. So yeah, I did very good in 2022 also. But I'm gonna say Tammy Baldwin wins here by around 8, maybe 9%, up to 12. She's had very, very nice polls here, and I think a lot of the polls have been adjusted towards Republicans. So the fact she's still up 8, 9% in almost every poll is incredibly impressive. Minnesota, Klobuchar, I'm gonna say actually she wins safely. I'm gonna say she wins safely. Uh, as a Democrat, if I was gonna pick a candidate to run for president in 2028, it's weird, but I'd say Klobuchar. She's a great speaker. Maybe Whitmer is also a great candidate. I think she's actually prepping a run. Uh, she's also a very strong candidate, and I think, uh, but she's not. She's a governor, and then we have. Oh my God, no! I can't name the candidate. What's her name? What's her name? I can't name the candidate in Michigan. I know her. They love her. Kind of. I even know she's from this district where my mouse is right here. She's from right here. Stabenow. I hope it's Stabenow. If not, I'm very disappointed. But yeah, she should also win by a decent margin. I say 6%, which would be lean in my books. And also, Bob Casey should have around a 6 to 7% win in Pennsylvania. These honestly could all be likely states. These could be very good victories for Democrats in the Rust Belt. They shouldn't lose any of these 3 or 4 seats right here. New Mexico. It's closer for Democrats than they would want, considering they won this by like 18% in 2018. I still think it's going to be a decent margin. Washington should be likely. It's one of those safe Democrat states that I can't put under the 15% margin. And Nevada, weird. Rosen's up a lot. Biden's down like 4 or 5% in almost every poll here, but Rosen's up also like 5 to 8% in every poll. I see Rosen wins by like 7 to 8%. I think she's gonna have a very good uh, victory in Las Vegas and that county. So, and I also think Democrats will win with Gallego. It's a Democrat. Basically, Kirsten Sinema is a Democrat. She's sold out, in my opinion, and that's going to be another victory for Democrats here. Gallego is up 5 to. Honestly, I've seen him up 12 points in some polls. Again, it's not just the polls; it's the situation, and I think the situation is that Republicans didn't want uh, Lake to win in 2022. I don't think they really care about her coming 2024. She couldn't beat Mark Kelly, who had a very good approval rating actually. They kind of like Mark Kelly down there, and I don't and I think Gallego is as much, if not more, liked than Mark Kelly. He was the best candidate Democrats could have picked here, and he's actually contemplating a run for a while. I'm very happy personally Democrats picked Gallego to run here because they're not picking any like really liberal candidates here. Uh, they're standing strong on their women's rights and youth empowerment, which is very good for places like Phoenix. They need to win Maricopa County to win in Arizona, and I think they will do just that. And I think Gallego could win by up to 10 points. I think he will only win by 3. That's a very different margin. I also think it's possible that he loses here. I think Republicans could be doing even better than the polls suggest, like that's happened in the past. Lake will not win by. Honestly, I don't think she will win at all. She was supposed to win in 2022 for a decent amount of time. Did I say she was supposed to beat Mark Kelly? I'm sorry. She was not supposed to beat Mark Kelly. She was supposed to beat was Lake. The Lake was a Democrat. Okay, I got the names mixed up, but I know who's running in Arizona. Oh boy, I wish we could cut that out, but I'm too lazy. Okay, but you see here, Democrats 48 to 50. They can still get their 50 tie here, and it's all gonna come down to one state at the end of the night. I think it might be the last state called. Ohio, I still have Luna Sherrod Brown. Let's say 1.8%. It could be by 10. Who knows? Sherrod Brown had a good victory in 2018 and 2012, I believe, which was a red wave year. Did he run in 2006? I don't remember. He's one of those last Democrats left who can win in Ohio, and I think he will win. I think he will do just that. So then you have a very interesting state here. Montana is the state for everyone to watch because Democrats having 50 seats as opposed to 49 is the biggest difference possible. Even if Trump wins the election and they get the tiebreaker, it's still a very important seat to have for 6 more years because then they will only need to carry one more seat than Republicans flipped. Uh, well, they won't need to flip one more seat than Republicans did in 2026. 2026 has, I believe, another Texas election coming up, and it has Alaska coming up, and it's not Lisa Murkowski. It's the other. It's the more Confederate Republican that I think has a chance to lose to the. Again, I forgot her name. I think it starts with an S or a P. Uh, Something like that. It's something like that in Alaska. And Democrats getting a seat in Alaska would change the whole map. Actually, they would no longer need to win Montana. And I think Democrats before I used to have them winning in Montana. After Trump's endorsement, it looked even better for the Democrat candidate here. Is it Tester? I don't remember. I'm sorry. I know who it is. I know what their face looks like. I just can't name the exact name of them. I think it's Tester. But Montana right now, I have is going 3%, 4% maybe to the Republicans. And considering this is the absolute rock bottom for Democrats, I think there's a decent chance that this comes back a little bit. because they do like the incumbent Democrat here. They do like him. I mean, clearly enough for him to have the competitive race right now in a Republican plus 20 state. That is a very important state for Democrats to win. And if Biden somehow pulls off a win, uh, and they win Montana, Democrats save themselves for another 4 years, at least for another 2 years. I don't think Biden wins, and that state won't matter as much. And as right now, I have Republicans having 51 seats. So then you got to look at the 2026 elections where you have Gary Peters, which in Michigan no one cares too much about. Then you have who's the other? No, Fetterman. I think Fetterman's going to win re-election. He's been very outspoken and moderate, and I say moderate, but he's not that moderate. I think he has been doing decent at his job in Pennsylvania more than I thought at first because he was under a lot of mental health attacks. Uh, the fact that he's the only Democrat right now uh, out speaking himself to defend Biden is also pretty interesting, and I think it might be because of the fake mental health scares for John Fetterman. John Fetterman wears casual clothes. People say he's having a mental decline. Ted Cruz wears casual clothes to Congress, and he gets praised for it, like, oh, I'm not one of the elites. That's exactly what happened, actually. Uh, it's a very interesting game that is being played with Fetterman, and I think honestly, I think Republicans thought they were going to win here. How did I forget Dr. Oz was the guy? That is the funniest thing to me that they nominated Dr. Oz instead of that other guy who would have totally won. By the way, in 2022, he almost certainly would have beat Fetterman. Dr. Oz was doing 5 points worse. I can't believe they nominated him. Still, that was wild. But yeah, hopefully this wasn't 40 minutes. This was probably like 25 minutes or something like that. But these are my election predictions as of now. I might do my house predictions in like I can't do house predictions anytime soon. I Before I do that video, I'm actually going to do a lot of research. I'm going to try to remember names. I'm going to write a lot of stuff down. I need more polls to come out. I need more data. I need approval polls. I need so much to come out to look at the House. As of right now, I think Democrats will win the House. They are up around 2% on the generic ballot average, which again, averages are generally more accurate when it comes to genericness. Like I'm trying to think of an example. Like if you see 100 polls come out in Georgia, like this is how I decided in Georgia going blue in 2020. This is how I decided. Say you had 150, 200, say you get 200 polls for Georgia in 2020, and 145 of them were plus one Democrat or tied, and the other 55 were plus one to plus three Republican. I picked Georgia because it was much more consistent leaning towards Democrats, and I think the situation aided Democrats more, especially when it came to the last second vote in the mail-in ballots and everything. I think Georgia was actually one of my easier predictions. I think the hardest state for me to have picked in 2020 was Florida going red. Florida and North Carolina going red were very hard to pick because there was a lot of assumptions Biden would just win every single swing state. Uh, a lot of people said Florida and North Carolina would go blue and Georgia would go red. I did not say that. I've been saying since January of 2020 to November of 2020 that Arizona was going to go blue. I was saying since August or July that year that Georgia was probably going to go blue the way it was leaning. After the debates, Georgia's got more consistent and consistent. And when you see consistency in the polls, that matters more over it's actually quantity over quality, if that makes sense. You see 1,000 polls and 700 of them go blue. It's chances are it's going to go blue, even if it's like plus one blue and then the other polls are plus eight Republican. That's 300. So that in that case, Republicans would still have the average. Okay, I'm yapping about it. I hope people understood that the consistency is very important to me. That's why I need more to do the House. And again, there's never going to be consistency in polls and data with the House seats. So I'm going to have to just do my best job at it. I think in 2022 I did a decent job as well. With the House, I didn't get a lot wrong. There was a couple seats, Washington's 3rd District. I cannot believe that went blue. I still can't believe that. I can't believe Democrats won every New Mexico seat. I thought for sure they were going to lose. the one at the bottom here. I thought for sure they were going to lose the toss-up in Colorado. I thought for sure they were going to lose at least 3 of those Nevada seats. I think they won 2 of them. They might have won all 3 of those seats that they had in out of the 4. And then I didn't think they were going to flip that QAnon. I don't know what his actual name was. We'll just call him QAnon Republican. I think he actually ran for Senate as well. I think it was also Michigan's 3rd district. It was around here where my mouse is. I didn't think Democrats were going to win there. There was a lot of surprises, so I did get a lot wrong. I'm going to try and do better this time. Thank you for watching. I'm going to go drink a lot of water. Goodbye.